What's up, everybody? It's Ty the Bourbon Guy, and welcome back to another whiskey review. Today we are reviewing Russell's Reserve 10-year. This product is actually made by Wild Turkey out in Kentucky, and there's actually a Russell's line. So if you're not familiar, Russell's has a 10-year, a single barrel bourbon. They also have a 6-year rye and a single barrel rye, among a few other recent releases that are limited. But overall, that's their main core product line, I guess we can say. Wild Turkey, my experiences there have been great. I think when you imagine a Kentucky distillery, this is exactly what I would imagine. Great experience, great tour. And then even in the gift shop, you might see Jimmy Russell walking around. I got a chance to meet him while I was out there last time. So fantastic experience overall. But in terms of daily sippers, in terms of alternatives to Eagle Rare, this is in the conversation quite a bit. I've heard this also in the conversation for budget, just meaning in that price range, the quality you get for the $30 to $35 price range is still a budget-friendly bottle. It's something that I can go to without spending too much money and make that a daily sipper and go through it without having to worry about replacing and things like that. So we're going to put it to the test today, and we're going to see, is that really true? I've recommended this bottle in the past, but it's fun to it's been a while, so it's fun to kind of come back and see, do I still feel that same way about this whiskey? It's starting to pick up a little bit. I think it's no secret now that Russell's Reserve is a good quality bourbon, but how does it stack up compared to some of the other ones that are out there in terms of availability, price, quality, all those things? We'll see. So the very first thing I like to do is take a look at the bottle. I think the bottle shape, to me, I love it. I love that all the Russells are the same way. The cork, I always have a thing with corks. So I enjoy the cork. Cork's fine. There's a few notes here at the top. Not a big deal. I think it's kind of just giving you a background on the Russell family and how that name came about. These are things that are informing the consumer more so than they're trying to sell the product, right? So I don't know that anybody's going to read this and then go buy the bottle, if that makes sense. But I think it provides some insight as to how we came up with this name, what Russell's Reserve is. So, I think in terms of that, they have the 10-year right here at the bottom, big and bold. And I know that this actually has shifted a little bit. There's a newer version of the label out now. But overall, don't have a problem with it. One of my favorite things to look at is the whiskey. So when a label takes up too much around the bottle and we can't actually see the color, or we can't actually see what's going on in there, sometimes it makes me a little skeptical. Is there a reason you're trying to hide this? So with Russell's, yes, the label's here, but they have no problem showing you the whiskey in the bottle. That's always great. Let's give it a shot and see what it see what it has going for it. So pour a little bit here, and then one for good luck. A lot of luck. All right. Russell's Reserve 10-year. Any Wild Turkey product in general, I get spice like immediately. And there's a lot of products that I drink from them where the proof feels hotter than what it is just because of that spice. But it's one that's like a warming spice. It's not like off-putting. It's not aggressive. It's just like a warming baking spice. It kind of reminds me of like some of those whiskeys that you enjoy when it's colder outside or when there's snow on the ground. And the fact that I live in Indiana tells you there's snow on the ground all the time. But I think that this is one that is a warming whiskey for me most of the time. But again, it's been a while since I've had this, so we'll see. On the bottle, I noticed that they actually list, resulting in a bourbon that delivers a balance of rich, spicy vanilla flavors. Now, sometimes I read a label and I think you are way off, at least for what I get. We all smell different things. We all taste differently. So doesn't mean somebody's off, just means that's not nearly even in the same ballpark of what I'm getting. But I think with this particular bottle and that description, I would say that's accurate for me. Spicy vanilla is definitely there on the nose. That spicy vanilla is there. It reminds me of when it's probably not a good metaphor, but it reminds me of like when somebody uses the restroom and then you walk in and then somebody just sprayed some type of vanilla something air freshener, right? That spicy vanilla scent, that aroma. I don't know, that's a terrible comparison. I don't, but that's what it smells like to me. It smells like I just walked in the bathroom after somebody. That's probably not a good thing to put in a review, but it's there. So with a lot of these, you're going to pick up oak, caramel, vanilla, things like that. So when I say those notes, I hope I'm not trying, I'm not trying to be repetitive, but it's just the fact that given it with how this was made and what it consists of and where it was aged and all those things, it's probably going to be similar to certain whiskeys and certain bourbons that are coming from Kentucky as well. Oak is there as well on top of the spicy vanilla, but it's to be expected with a 10-year product. It doesn't seem too harsh to me on the nose though. We'll see once we get to the palate, but with it being a 10-year product, it's sat in an oak barrel for 10 years. It probably is going to smell like oak, but it's not too aggressive. Like if you have some of the older whiskeys that are anywhere from 15 to 20 plus, sometimes those can seem too powerful. It's almost like an oak bitterness where it's just too much oak because it aged for so long. I don't feel that with this particular product. I think it's just noticeable. It's there, but it's not overpowering by any means. So the nose is not, it's more spicy than sweet, but there are sweet aspects to it, but still a pretty good nose. I mean, it's one that I keep going back to and I'm looking for more. I don't really get more. What I got on the original sniff test is what I'm getting now, really. But overall, it's not really changing in the glass. Now, it hasn't really been sitting here. You saw me pour it. It has not really been sitting here that long. So maybe over time it would open up a little bit. But the flavors that I'm getting on the nose are not really changing. So let's see what's going on with the palate. Cheers. So on the palate, I get creamy, spicy vanilla. What's the proof on here? The proof, 90 proof. I was going to say very approachable. Even with the spice, it's not aggressive. I think the proof helps with that. Not an aggressive one. I can feel the warmth. The finishes, I would say probably about medium, but it's warming without being too overly aggressive. I've mentioned before, this was included on a lot of lists for a daily sipper. I can see that. I can see why, because that at that lower of a proof, it's drinkable. I'm not really having to babysit it too much because it's too hot. It's definitely approachable. It's a drinkable whiskey, all those things. So I could see in terms of a daily sipper, the spice does come through. It's the only part of it that I think is a little aggressive, but it's not overly aggressive by any means. Let's go back in for another sip and let's see what we're thinking. So in this second sip, I'm starting to notice some of the fruit come through on the palate. Third sip, it's almost like that citrus is definitely starting to come through. Spice is starting to come back. So now it's almost like a spicy orange, spicy lemon, but it's not really orange. It's almost like a lemon zest. I hate splitting hairs like this, but it's almost like the citrus is there, but it's definitely, I would not take it as like a citrusy whiskey. I believe in adding water in every bourbon that I try because you never know what flavors that may open up. So I'm going to try a few drops of water today and let's see what it does. So that's interesting. When I added the water, it does open a little bit, but it's actually opens it to oak. I feel like I get more oak on the nose now than I did originally by adding the water. The citrus comes through a little bit more now. I've never smelled this, so it's hard for me to say this is what it smells like, but I'm going to say this is what it smells like. It smells like if I were to walk past a barrel full of oranges. Like maybe if somebody cut up oranges and put it in a barrel and I walked past it. That's what that smells like. But again, speculation. Never actually smelled a barrel full of oranges before. All right, let's see what it tastes like with a few drops of water. Cheers. I was intrigued by that first sip. I thought that we were going to change the mouthfeel to be a little bit more creamy, but then it went from creamy on the initial palate into like a watered down version. And then with that watering down, the spice just came through. I didn't really get too much flavor. Yeah, I think with the water, that's exactly it. The spice is still coming through. That cinnamon spice is coming through. The oak spice or whatever you want to call it, but it's not really... The other flavors that were with it originally are no longer there. They're dialed back a little bit. I don't want to say muted. They're still there, but it's turned down quite a bit. And the oak and the spice are turned up. It's interesting. I just got lemon and brown sugar all of a sudden. That lemon is definitely starting to come through. So maybe the water brings out those citrus notes. On the nose, I think the nose is almost better with the water, but the palate I prefer without the water. Yeah, with that last sip, to me the water is taking back some of the depth of flavor, the characteristics that this whiskey has. It's making it more of a boring whiskey in my opinion. This particular bottle I prefer neat. I would not add water to this. Again, you drink it how you want to drink it. And the only way to determine how you like to drink a whiskey is to try it different ways. Try it with water, try it with an ice cube, try it in a cocktail, an old fashioned, a sour, or whatever it may be. Drink it however you would like to drink it. So I mentioned earlier, this bottle has been kind of named as a daily sipper. It's been named as an alternative to Eagle Rare 10 year, strictly for the fact that it's a 10-year product. I don't really know that many people that look at Eagle Rare and Russell's Reserve 10 year as the exact same whiskey or taste the exact same. I don't think anybody's saying that, but I think when you hear that, it's probably just referring to the fact that this is another 10-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon. Wild Turkey, in my opinion, is a lot spicier than some of the other products that are available, some of the other bourbons. So that spice is going to come through a little bit more than I get on some of the other brands. But in terms of a 10-year product alternative that's available in my area at that price point, especially if you're using this for a cocktail, I would imagine that this would be okay. That spice, I'm sure, would come through in a cocktail. I think the game you have to then play is this that much better than Wild Turkey 101? And it's weird to say that, but a lot of people, I think Kentucky Spirit is the same way. A lot of people enjoy the rest of the Wild Turkey lineup, but they're comparing the rest of that lineup to Wild Turkey 101. At that price range, when you can get a bottle of Wild Turkey 101 for 20 to 22-ish, sometimes less than that, dollars, do I spend the extra money to get this whiskey and it's going to be a better overall experience? Or do I save the money and get Wild Turkey 101? Cocktail, I think Wild Turkey 101. Neat, I would say Russell's Reserve 10 year. If I'm adding water, I think I'd go back to Wild Turkey 101. But I still think that this is a great alternative to Eagle Rare. I still think that this could be a daily sipper. It's, again, very approachable. It's only 90 proof. It's a fantastic bottle. And Wild Turkey to me is very consistent. When I try a different bottle, I don't really I'm not taking off the charts into a different direction with a certain bottle. I think they do a great job of finding that taste profile and sticking to it. I also think they do a great job of their proofs. I think figuring out what proof is the best for this whiskey and how to proof it down and what to proof it down to, I think they do a fantastic job. So overall, I would say I'm going to rate this bottle a 91. I do think it should be in that category more of, let's say, like Cooper's Craft 1792 small batch. I think it should be in that range. When you're talking about daily sipper, when you're talking about something that's approachable, I don't want to always say beginners. I think some people associate lower proof with beginners. And although that may be true because you don't want the proof to be too aggressive, some people like the proof. So I'm not going to hold this into a category for beginners. I'm just going to say that if you enjoy spending $30 to $40 on a bottle, you want it to be a nice bottle, it'll look nice on a shelf, it'll taste good, more importantly, then I think this should be in that category. I always encourage people to try a few of those. So maybe try this next to a Cooper's Craft. Maybe try this next to a 1792 small batch and see which one you end up preferring. The oak may be the only piece that may turn some people off, but I think other than that, it's a very good whiskey. Russell's Reserve 10 year is going to be rated 91 out of 100. Daily sipper, great price, available in a lot of places. Nothing wrong with this whiskey at all. So I appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe, all that fun stuff, so that way you don't miss any of these whiskey reviews coming up. I have a lot coming up here very, very soon. I appreciate everybody's support to this channel, and I will see you in the next review. Cheers.